Well, maybe it's a quick question. I don't know.
It's never a quick answer.
It's never a quick answer. Oh, good. As a piece of television, as a piece of drama or science fiction, in your opinion, what is Fringe's greatest accomplishment?
I think Fringe's greatest accomplishment, it's not unique in this because I think all good science fiction accomplishes this, particularly in the television format, is having human characters at the center of a huge epic story, of really having a believable heroine, of having this beautiful father-son dynamic that is a very rare thing to put into a story. So I think that's our greatest accomplishment. I think I'm a huge fan of science fiction, but the place I think that science fiction loses broader audience is when it gets too far into the geek and you lose the emotional core, the human core. And I think John, God love him, even as our show in the first year was floundering a little bit and trying to figure out what it was and what it was going to become, created this beautiful, human, broken, tortured, funny, witty, scary character that is totally unique and instantly relatable, which is like the hardest thing in the world to do. So, yeah, maybe that's our greatest accomplishment, is John Noble. Yeah.
That's a good one. And how does it feel that the end is in sight? And what do you hope from the end?
Well, I mean this in the most joyful way, and which is why I don't need the tissues. It feels great. I feel like we got a grace note at the end of a show. I'm sure everybody here has been a fan of a show that got canceled before its time, right? Possibly several. And when you are a fan of a show like that, the feeling of loss is really acute, and it sucks. You're left without the ending of a story that you've committed. Like, for instance, let's talk about Game of Thrones. So I have a slightly obsessive problem with when I get into books, like particularly a series of books, I cannot put the fucking things down. And nobody told me that the story's not done yet, and that he takes like 7 years between books. So last summer, I plowed through, like 9,000 pages of the Game of Thrones, and finally, and I finally started being like, boy, that's weird. I don't feel an ending coming. And I got to the end, and the person who had recommended them to me was like, oh no, it'll be like 10 more years. Like, what? I will have kids in high school by the time these are finished? Are you kidding me? So that is not great. So for us, for a large corporate entity to give us, as the creative types on the show, to have the opportunity to finish our story in the way that we, and by we I mean Joel Wyman, wants to finish the story and say, which is one big thank you to the audience who has come with us for those 4 and now going on 5 years. It's the rarest of things. So that's why I don't need the tissues, because I'm stoked. I just think it's amazing that we have survived, thrived, failed, floundered, done all the things that can happen in 5 years, and we get a chance to end it on our terms. That just never, ever happens. Even if we had known, the last 2 years there's been a contingency plan to end the show because we didn't know, canceled or not canceled, and we could have put a reasonably satisfying ending onto any one of those seasons, but you still would have had to jam the ending in. Now we have 13 hours to tell a whole ending to this story, and I couldn't be more excited about that. And Joel has been incredibly forthcoming about wanting us all, because in a way that a television show is the possession of the people who make it before it goes on the air, right? There's a beautiful honeymoon phase on a new TV show when you post-pilot, pre-first air date, when it's just you. You're making it for yourselves, basically, because nobody else is watching it. There's nobody to pick it apart or build it up or tear it down or do any of those things. Well, we're getting back to that place. It's just ours. And by ours, I mean those now who watch it and those who make it. It is ours entirely. Fox isn't going to pick us up, but they're not going to yank us off the air. Warner Brothers isn't going to commission more episodes, but they're not going to stop paying the checks. So we're here. This is it's truly one of the rarest and most beautiful occasions that a TV show can have as a creative experience and hopefully as a participatory experience as an audience member. So I'm stoked. No,
I love it.
No tissues for me.
Thanks, guys. Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys. I told you, no short answers.
Yeah, that's good. They were good.